inventing itself. Okay? And those stages can be represented by these circles. And the first phase right here is people come into the business, they try things, they do things, it succeeds, it fails, this works, this doesn't work. All those things happen. In our industry, this is what that's been. Now I want you to understand that, okay, so here's the way to say that. So we start out with hardware, right? Sperry Rand, IBM, I'm taking you way back. And one day, all of a sudden, someone realized we needed software to run the hardware. Probably one of the most amazing experiences in business was when IBM made the decision that the money was in hardware, not software. And they allowed Bill Gates and Paul Allen to own the software, right? They teach that in business school as things not to do. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then one day you woke up and you got a notice, and it said, "Hey, you want to quit using these memory cards? How about if we just put your data up on this thing called the cloud, and you can access your data from any of your hardware, right?" So today, who in here doesn't have a? Don't raise your hand, but who in here doesn't have a data plan? Right. Exactly. So what happens is this became a commodity. In other words, for as cheap as $600 to as much as $1,000, I can go buy a piece of hardware, I can buy software to run on it, I can go buy a data service, and I can start building a business. Yes? Yes. Absolutely. That's a commodity. And then we can put underneath that the internet. Okay? In our industry, that has been that the last 10 years. Okay? That's what this is. And by the way, all of this did not change the real estate industry, did it? No. No, it created businesses that build this and sell it to you, or they're going straight to the consumer. But at the end of the day, this did not disrupt the real estate industry. Okay? So when I got asked a question by hang on, I'll come back to that in a second. So then what is this? So everybody has been competing in your industry. Now again, I'm talking macro to you, not micro. So I'm not talking about hyper-local conversation right now. I'm talking about the bigger picture that actually can drive the industry. And this is what technology and what the internet does, right? It takes a local bookstore and gives you a worldwide bookstore. Yes? Okay. So what the internet and technology has the ability to do is transcend, to actually create a local experience from one spot that can service all locals all over the world. So all of a sudden one day, the game changed. And here's where the game changed. And that was big data and artificial intelligence. And this right here, not this right here has been called the fourth industrial revolution. So the interesting thing for you and I is that you and I are actually building our businesses right now in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution. And that's a big deal. It's not a little deal. When you see economists start telling you that you're in a new industrial revolution, folks, they're talking about printing press kind of change. They're talking about transcendent change that's fixing to happen in the world. So this right here is what phase 2 is. And that's why you're not feeling the pressure yet, because everything that we've been experiencing has been this. So when I got asked a question on stage by Brad Inman, well, where are all these other companies? Are they here or here? I came back and I said, okay, here's what I'd like to have said. If this right here represents KW, meaning that, and this is how much big data we have, okay? Where would our competitors be? Now this is big data that is connected. Where would our competitors be? And what's the answer? Every one of them. This is it. Because they haven't connected the data. One of the blessings that we had, and oh, by the way, and if we just change this to artificial intelligence and then said, okay, if this represents what Keller Williams has done with artificial intelligence for the industry, where are our competitors? What's the answer? Okay. So it's really interesting that as we move into this space, which is the space of innovation around AI and big data, there are very few real estate businesses that have positioned themselves to play that game. Okay? Now let me give you an example about big data and AI. So I want you to imagine that tomorrow morning you woke up and you had a bite on your arm, or a red, just a dot. Okay, we don't even know if it's a bite, right? And you pull out your medical app, you take a picture of it, and you load it right into your medical app. And immediately, within nanoseconds, you get back, it comes back up and it says, we have a 99% accuracy prediction that is a brown recluse bite. And we have a 100% cure rate when you do these three things. And we have your medical records, and we know what you're allergic to and not. We've already ordered your medicine, and it will be at your house by 5 o'clock today. Follow the instructions. Number 2, draw a circle around it, so in case the medicine doesn't work and it gets outside the circle, that we'll know that. Number 3, we looked at your Google Calendar, and we noticed that you have time available at 4:30 today, and the doctor does too, and we've preset an appointment for you two to talk by phone, or you can come into the office, your choice, just click yes, and tell us whether it's phone or in person. You get that? Yep. It's you going to a lawyer saying, I've got a legal issue, and the lawyer turns around and puts that into the database, and it comes back and says, we've just guaranteed all of the court cases on your issue, and over the last 50 years or whatever, and we have found there are 15 that match your situation. We've tested that against your variables, and we have found 3 instances that really speak to that. We've pulled out what those are. I've listed those, and I've printed it for you. Here are the 7 things that we need to talk about to make sure that we do the best job possible. Do you get that? Okay. So it's not just the real estate industry. Literally there is a race going on right now in literally every industry there is, and that is who can accumulate the most data and who can attach that to artificial intelligence that can pull insight, make decisions, and or do tasks based on that information. I would say, do you have any questions? But that would be really, that wouldn't work well, would it? Right? Okay. So that's what AI and big data actually represents right now for us. Is it represents who's going to, so in our industry, it's who's going to have the most connected. And when we say connected, that means data that talks to each other. You would expect that Realogy or Zillow would be the 2 leading candidates, if you will. Realogy meaning all of their brands, right? Would have the most data on real estate, yes or no? You would expect that. Here's their problem. It's not connected. In other words, they never anticipated that it would need to talk to each other, right? It's just like Berkshire Hathaway. Their big challenge is that when they went out and they grew by buying companies, and they left everything intact. So they left the entire operating system of those businesses intact, meaning that the data doesn't talk to each other. And RE/MAX, they still have franchisees that send in their numbers by paper. In other words, the industry by and large just got caught flat-footed as it walks into this issue right here. Okay? Now, you have a choice, right? Depending upon what you did, and that is, if you can grab that, then you get to play in this game, phase 3. And if not, then your business does that or your business does that. So this whole issue of what's going to happen in the real estate industry, that has not played out yet, okay? That's going to play out in real time in the next 2 years, most likely. So when I said that you're gonna, again, I stood at the family reunion, I said, a year from now, you're not gonna recognize the real estate industry. And again, at the time, I don't know that people understood what I was saying, but I think you're beginning to understand it now. You're beginning to, as you hear the Zillows announce that they're going into the mortgage business, right? So they're gonna abandon or add on to their media approach. So we're not just going to generate leads; we're not going to actually go directly to the consumer. Number 2, we're going to have a brokerage license. Yes, we're required to do it. Yes. And then they're thanking the commission for making them get it so they can blame them, right? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And they're going to become an iBuyer, so they're going to get in between you and the seller and the buyer. Now, I'm not painting them as evil. I'm just stating actually facts. You can draw your own conclusions about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. But those are the facts that are happening, okay? The blessing that Keller Williams had in all this is a thing called profit sharing. And that is because we share the income back in the organization as an operating model, we also had to have all the data to make sure that everything was done in the proper way. As a result, all we had to do was literally rechange the plumbing a little bit and set it up so that we could receive all that data in a manner that we could build out. So if someone were going to start this, Josh, and they were going to start building a pipeline, a big data, and put it into a cloud service, how long would that take them?
Once they have the data, it would take them between 2 to 3 years to start to build a platform using that data in a real estate specific manner.
Yeah, and I didn't trust his statement, so Google was in our, not that I don't trust you, but
you were inspecting what you expect.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. So we had Google in our offices one day, and in front of Josh and some others of our amazing tech leadership team, I just turned to them and said, how long would it take to do this if you're just getting started? And their answer was
2 to 3 years.
Yeah. They said, here's just getting started. So when Keller Williams announced that it was building, that it had built a cloud service, that it had done all of this, you immediately, all of a sudden, you heard Berkshire Hathaway announce that they were going to go do that. Recently, I guess in the last week or 2, we just now hear that RE/MAX is going to do that. So I'll be waiting for all those apologies from everyone who made fun of me and said I was an idiot. I'm still waiting for Notorious Bob, or whatever his name is, to write me an apology. The interesting thing is that in that particular famous blog, this individual very self-importantly said that when Google calls, let him know. And we just kind of chuckled because Google had already called and
4 times.
Had already called 4 times. And we were actually, were considered a test case for what we were doing. And here this guy didn't know what he was saying, right? So, by the way, phase 3 is when the change occurs. So this is, by the way, the battle that's going on in your industry right now. And that is who's going to get the data and what are they going to do with it with artificial intelligence. Now, I've heard a lot of people, and by the way, I was even asked this as an and they said, well, are you going to have the data? And I hear that question. And my first response is, I'd like to meet the idiot that asked the question. And the reason, that wasn't my response. That was just my inner thought. Someone's going to own the data, dadgummit. I mean, to say, are you going to own it? I want to come back and say, well, okay, well, you pick somebody. You can't be you. You don't have enough data. There's the challenge that the individual real estate agent has, and even the individual real estate company has, is that you don't have enough data to be a big enough data set to have any insight worth having. That's the problem. The dilemma is that you and I have to pick someone to have our data. Now, I'm happy for you to all right now write down on a sheet of paper who you want to own your data that you trust won't sell you out. And then submit it, and I'll read those from here. You don't want to do that? Let's just go through the list. Do you want Zillow to have it? Do you want Realtor.com to have it? Do you want Google to have it? Do you trust Facebook? Okay, how about Amazon? Let's pick them. Okay, you want Trulia to have it? Well, you're running out of names. Let's let your competitors have it.
No.
Well, yeah, there you go. Well, I'd like to say us. Right? I'd like to say we have to, right? Look, every day you get to vote with your feet. If you think that we're wrong, you can walk out and not be a part of this. So I understand that I understand the relationship. I understand that every day we have to earn the right to be in business with you. And we take that very seriously. So someone's got to own the data. If we had a better place, I'd have gone there.
Absolutely.
Do you think I wanted to be a technology company?
No. And you sure didn't want to build a CRM?
No, I've avoided this. I've tried not to be this. I've tried not to be this, right? Yeah. I thought it was really interesting that someone, I guess it was Realogy, went out publicly and said, well, we're a real estate company. And I thought to myself, no, you're not. Real estate agents are real estate companies. Real estate offices are real estate companies. You're a service provider, Doug Twit. So is Keller Williams. I mean, to say that, right? I mean, yes, we're not really a real estate company in that sense. You're the real estate industry. We are your partner, but we're not the industry. Okay? And oh, by the way, they just announced they're spending $200 million to go build technology. Sounds like a technology company to me, but whatever. Yeah. Okay. And then number 4 is when all of a sudden you have to do it all over again. And that's kind of the reinvention cycle of industry. So if we're going to play the game of big data and artificial intelligence, you and I are going to go into a business. And let's don't even pick the business yet. And the first thing we know we have to do is we have to go build a cloud service, because we have to have all the data in one place, and it has to be connected. That's where the power is. That's where the magic happens. And the second thing is we have to do is we have to have artificial intelligence in order to do something with that data. Does that make sense? Okay. So let me just talk to you a little bit about the real estate industry and where we are. So the real estate industry, you and I start out and we're an agent. At some point, we ended up with the tech-enabled agent. Okay? And MLS was the first, I know this sounds very techy, but actually MLS was the first technology that the industry started adopting, right? To enable the fiduciary, the real estate agent. At some point in the last decade, we all of a sudden had this movement, and the movement was the agent-enabled tech, where in that model, the tech is going to be the fiduciary, and the agent is going to be the functionary. Okay? And then there's this prediction over here that at some point, it'll just be all tech. Well, the truth is, that's never going to happen, and that ship has sailed. So what we're left with is we're left in this situation in our industry where the battle is, who are you going to be? Are you going to be here or are you going to be here? That makes sense? You're either going to be the person who is enabled by tech or you're going to be the person enabling tech. So let's look at this agent enabling tech for a second. And the interesting thing is the first one was Realtor.com. Our own National Association of Realtors did it. Today, you may be called a realtor, but the public is confused because actually Rupert Murdoch owns your .com name. You don't own it anymore. Okay? A little misguided there, right? And then you had Trulia, and then you have Zillow, right? And then you have Redfin, and you have Purple Bricks is another example, and then you have Open Door, and you have OfferPad, and you have Knock, and I'll just stop there. And again, what I was trying to point out at Inman, I wasn't trying to be mean or in any way disparaging, but I said these are all. This is where the vast majority of businesses that you write about. These are them, and these are your advertisers. Okay, he didn't like that, but that's it, right? Now I want you to notice something else. Right here, these groups, they want to have 30 to 40%. Realtor.com, Trulia, and Zillow, they want 30 to 40% of your gross revenue. They want you to stay in business. They just need to make more and more money. The challenge that we have with these guys is they aren't profitable. They aren't profitable, and they've pretty much saturated their ability to charge you money. And this is a concern for all of us. Why? Well, because they have a $9 to $12 billion valuation to protect, and charging you lead generation fees isn't getting them to the profit they hoped. What does that mean? Well, they're going to have to find a lot more money.
Get real estate license and buy a bank.
What?
They're going to get a real estate license and they're going to buy a bank.
Yes. They bought a bank and they're going to go directly to the consumer in the mortgage industry, right? Yep. And they're going to become an iBuyer, and they're going to get between you and the buyer, and they're going to get a real estate license. And again, it's that, you're losing so slow you think you're winning. And that's kind of what's happening in our industry because it's so slow and it's not so dramatic right now that people just kind of, there's nothing you could actually do about it, if you will, right? People say, well, why did Keller Williams get in the mortgage business? Well, we'll talk about that a little later, but now do you know why? What if Zillow tomorrow morning announced a free mortgage to everybody on their website? What would be your response? If it's not oh crud, you are asleep. By the way, did you know that Redfin already has a free mortgage in 7 states? No, you didn't know that. Wake up. The water temperature is getting warmer. Okay. By the way, these guys, they want to price you at 1%. These guys, they want to price you at $3,900 to $4,000. These guys right here, they want to pay you 1%. How you feel about that? It's a good thing I have more energy than you. Yeah. That's BS. I mean, come on. Now, here's the problem, though, and that is of the businesses that would be over here, who has been building this that is in a position to immediately take action to get in front of all this. Now, it's you. It's you. And it's not pretty. I never stood up and said that you know, I was an Einstein. I never said it, and we're going to make mistakes. We're going to do right things and wrong things. We're going to fix things, and we're going to get there together. I became the most hated man in the industry for sure. At the same moment that one group announced me as the most influential person, I guess it was proved by the rest of the world saying they hated me. Right? Yeah. Look, I don't really care. I mean, what I mean is that you pay us to do a job, and we wake up every day and we love working for you, and we take it very seriously. The other thing the other comment that I make, mediocre clapping is cool, but what you don't realize is from the stage, that's also an insult. So I'm kind of okay if you either just all stand up or all sit down. I'm okay either way. I'm okay. I was actually hoping for you just didn't say anything. So.
You're absolutely the most influential man in real estate.
Whatever. Yeah. Well, here would be the reason why, if I was. And the reason is because we are a privately held company. And what that... Now listen to me. You know, we met... How often did we meet, you and John and I meet with Open Door?
Several times over several months.
And what was my whole pitch to those guys? You're in the room.
Let's do a deal where Open Door plus KW agents changes the world, and we all win.
Yes, use us. We could just pay us.
100%.
Yeah, just pay our people, respect our people. We will get you to the promised land.
Yep.
And what did the CEO at that time of this company, VC backed, what did he say?
Gary, I have the power. Let's do this. Let's make a deal happen.
That's what he said. He said, I have, right, John? He said, I'm the decision maker. The way I've settled this up, I'm in control. This is going to happen. Well, he's not in charge anymore. No, he's not in charge. No, just the opposite. The people that gave him the money want to destroy the real estate industry. And they believe that's what they were giving their money for. And so in the end, he had, even though he was right up to the end, he was saying, let's do this. I kept wondering why we weren't doing it. And then all of a sudden I realized, because actually he didn't have the power. He didn't have that right. Listen to Redfin. Listen to Glenn Kelman actually tell you that offering discounts really didn't help them. Didn't help them. And they wanted to get rid of it. And what was his answer? That his board wouldn't let him drop it. Okay? So my point to you is that when you look at every company here, and then we could literally, if you want to, we can add Realogy, we can add Remax, we can add Compass, we can add Berkshire Hathaway, we can add even now EXP. We can add all those. Folks, those are either venture-backed or public companies. There's only one organization, only one that has the ability to play the game at this level that is privately owned. In other words, we're having a board meeting right now. I want you to understand that. That's not a little deal, it's a big deal. It's actually the issue. It is the issue. Okay, so if we're going to go out, we're going to build a cloud service, and we're going to build artificial intelligence. So what you didn't know was almost 3 years ago, we started building out the cloud service. While everybody else was still building bolt-on technology, Keller Williams, on your behalf, was connecting the data. I'd like to take credit for it, but he's the rascal that did it. Right? I didn't do it. Yeah. And he kept looking at me trying to explain, isn't this awesome? Aren't you excited? And I'm going, I said, real estate, dude, you know. Agents matter, right? Blah, blah. I'm going through my litany of what really matters, right? He's going, yeah, but this is exciting. Look what we can do. I'm going, okay, keep doing that. So I just want to be transparent here, right? Also, I woke up one day and realized that, thank God we had at least one person in the organization who was smart enough to start doing this without asking for permission. Yeah. The other thing is, we started working on Keller. You know, it was announced from the family reunion stage a couple years ago, hey, we're going into business with this other company, this artificial intelligence company. And that deal fell apart because even though we'd already started giving them money, they came back and they said, well, we'll build artificial intelligence. We're going to charge you $10 million. $10 million. Your agents are all going to have it and help build it. And you'll have exclusivity for what, 2 years?
2 years.
And then the entire industry will be able to use it. And we're going to own your phone numbers, everyone's phone numbers. We're the consumer. And it was Mo Anderson and it was Mary Tennant who both went, we're not doing that deal, right? And Josh is sitting over there going, well, I think we could actually do it, and we could do it less expensive, and we could own it all. Why don't we do that? So that's what we did, and it's called Kelly, okay? Now, understand that Kelly is what you call the interface. But there's a whole other part of artificial intelligence that is just operating that we don't call Kelly.
So the key distinction is the app that crashes and is buggy and all those things is not Kelly. Kelly is the engine running all of our data and algorithms, and then we created an app in the App Store to start letting you interface with this data, and we just called that Kelly. And those are the two projects we have running at the same time.
Yeah, so if you think about artificial intelligence for just a second, there's a couple of layers of it. One is actually the platform from which artificial intelligence is created. So Apple has their platform, Amazon has theirs, Google has their, yeah, they all built this, right? And then they built on top of that, they built Alexa and Siri. So those are two different things. One is the platform to develop, and then is their version. You with me? So when a real estate agent says that they've built their own artificial intelligence, I remember reading an article, I built my own artificial intelligence to work with people at open house and do those things. Understand that's the third layer. That's actually not artificial intelligence at all. That's not it, okay? So think about this. How amazing is Siri and how much has it changed your life? Other than the weather and some news and playing a song, right? How about Alexa? Change your life? So what they did was, that was basically planting a flag in the ground 10 years ahead of schedule. Meaning that they wanted to get out and begin training their artificial intelligence built on their platform. And so they went very wide. So they didn't pick a vertical. They didn't pick anything specific. They just went very wide. When you go very wide with artificial intelligence, you get an Alexa or a Siri.
Or Kelly.
Well, if you go deep, you go Kelly. Yeah. So in other words, with the battle in the world right now is now each industry, someone is gathering the data and is going deep with artificial intelligence, right? Okay. So no matter what industry we're going into, if we're going to be innovative in the technology world, we're literally going to have what you would probably just call an innovation engine. The ability to innovate in real time, right? So let's go to real estate. So if we're going in the real estate industry, this is the way we think about it. And that is, you have the consumer, you have the real estate agent, and in our world, you have a market center. And the language that we use about this is we say we should think of it as the virtual consumer, the virtual agent, and the virtual market center. And what we mean by that is your phone is the remote control of your life, right? I even asked Brad Emmett, he thought I was probably trying to trick him or something. And I said, when you wake up in the morning, how soon before you go to get your phone? And he goes, well, probably too soon. I went, oh no, I think we all do. I think it's become the remote control of our life. In many cases, it is the alarm that wakes us up. But it literally is, it's where our world lives, right? Yes. The interesting, here's just an interesting, now I'll get to that in a second. So the point is that in the fourth industrial revolution, the real estate consumer is a virtual consumer, meaning that everything about real estate starts digitally and then is enhanced physically. That the real estate agent of the future, everything that they need to do in their business, they can either do by their phone or their laptop, and everything physically is an enhancement on top of that. And the real estate office of the future, by the way, is virtual. What I mean by that is that everything that can be done to support a real estate agent will be done virtually, and it's physically enhanced. That's the world. That's going to be the medical profession, it's the legal profession, it's the architecture profession, it's every profession known to man will literally go under that scrutiny, if you will. Now, a lot of people think that when I say virtual market center, he goes, well, what's going to happen? I say, well, here's the thing. Just as a sidebar, the thing is that Amazon did its best to destroy the book business, right? Put Borders out of business and redefine that experience. And now, by the way, they're putting in bookstores, right? Why did Amazon then go back into the physical business after it claimed it was going to be the digital juggernaut? Well, a good example would be to look over at Apple, and that is Apple is the #1 retailer per square foot sales in the world. Tiffany's is #2, by the way, but Apple's #1. Amazon looks up and says, wow, we control digital, and yet we have less than 5% of all retail. In other words, they're not that significant in the world of retail in the end. And they looked up and they said, oh, so we have to be physical. So they went out and bought Whole Foods. Why would a digital company buy a large, physically based business? Go ahead.
Because they need to be near the people, and physical is the still primary way that most e-commerce is happening. So we look at consumer goods, all of the, again, Walmart, forget valuation, Walmart has a much greater volume of revenue than Amazon, and for Amazon to compete with Walmart on this new juggernaut race, they're gonna have to get into the retail space.
Yeah, the only reason why malls suffer today is because the stores in those malls did not go virtually based, physically enhanced. So what they didn't do was they didn't reinvent the experience around their products and services in a digital form that then could be enhanced and complemented by their physical location. Right?
Gary, another really
that actually is true.
Quick example is Casper, the online mattress company, is now standing up retail spaces to sell mattresses. And they've learned that no matter about the marketing and the great consumer experience, their CEO's quote was, retail is dead, just boring retail is dead. And we believe that to be true across all physical experiences.
So market centers aren't dead, boring market centers are dead.
Yes.
By the way, real estate agents aren't dead, boring real estate agents are dead. Consumers are good. We love our boring customers, right? Yep. All right. So once you've built this engine right here, this ability to take data and connect it and have insights and make decisions, let's talk about that. So for us, we spent 2 to 3 years doing this, which made it look like we were behind. I will assure you that by February of next year, you're not going to look like you're behind. In fact, I think in about 20 minutes, he's going to start showing you what we've been building, and I think you're going to go, oh, we're really not behind. Actually, we're not only not behind, folks, we're moving rapidly ahead. And the reason is because, well, okay, here's another comment, and that is, using this is your choice. This is not a sales pitch, right? I'm totally agnostic in the sense of, if you don't need to use any of this, then don't use it. I mean, this is not a sales pitch, right? we're doing this because this is the battleground of your industry. This is the fighting for you to be as significant as a real estate industry as possible, with the ability to provide the most services for the most amount of money that is fair for you to charge, right? Isn't that what we're fighting for? Yes. Yeah, best service, yeah, absolutely. So let's go through this. So we built this, at some point we turned to this. So instead of the Morse system, you see us migrating towards cloud more. So I want you to imagine again, how many years of data did we have to train all of this?
Historically?
On the cloud.
Oh, I mean, we had years going back to so you started.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it. Yeah. Yes, folks, the amount of data that you had to go train the cloud, the issue here is training it. This isn't just a room that you open the door and throw data into. A cloud service is a real estate specific cloud service, is a cloud service that has been trained through microservices so that it is very aware of what the data is. It knows what you're asking. And then, of course, training artificial intelligence. If you went to Siri and said, do a 30-year amortization for me with a 5-year balloon, what would it say? And it's not going to be doing that anytime soon because it's not an industry-specific artificial intelligence. So understand that the incumbent industry, no matter in an industry, has absolutely the leg up over people that are coming into the industry. The battle is, can a technology company go and build out the technology and learn real estate faster than an incumbent who has all the data and has all the customers, right, can go build technology. So if they build their technology, their race is, how can we then go get customers? Can we go get market share? Can we go get adoption faster than you can build technology and just hand it to your people? Do you see the race?
This is why the Disney acquisition to counter Netflix was such a monumental thing, because an incumbent with all the data and all the infrastructure and all the content is now putting our arms raised that says, game on.
Yeah, you don't have my data anymore.
That's right.
If you have kids or you want to go watch anything that Disney ever did, you're going to watch it through Disney.
That's right.
Yeah. We thought that's what Realtor.com was going to be. And that turned out to be a fiasco. By the way, all for greed. I mean, the people that ran Realtor.com are in jail, folks. I mean, this is a story that nobody wants to talk about, but this whole thing now again where our entire industry is in conflict. And it's in conflict, again, because short-term payout. I can get rich, get my money, I get to have my IPO day or whatever that is, and I get to run off. And let me tell you, that's what drove Realtor.com. It was the entire thinking behind it. And once you realize that, you went, oh my gosh, we're in trouble, because that means they're going to sell out, right? Compass says, and I'm not picking on companies, but Compass says, we're a technology company. Well, where'd they get all their money from?
SoftBank and overseas and
Asia.
yes.
And they believe that data is the new oil.
Yes.
Okay, so understand that who owns Compass? Americans? No. Say no. No, they don't.
Definitely not agents.
Do agents own it? You're very feeble, but I get it. By the way, I'm not, and again, I'm not being disparaging. If I've said something that's factually inaccurate, just let me know. Fact check me. Okay? And this is my point, that this is a moment in history where you associate actually makes a difference. And in the past, I don't know how much it totally did. Today, it makes all the difference. It is literally the industry itself is being fought over, isn't it?
100%.
And you're not from our industry.
No. I come from working with Fortune 50 companies, and we've seen this in other industries. You know, I worked a lot with Bank of America in the banking industry. This happened with the credit unions and disruptors coming in, auto traders, things like that. Saw it in the automobile industry, Tesla. Real estate's not going through this journey.
Real estate's not going through. That's right. So clever. So unbeknownst to most people, we released that outside of the U.S. and Canada back in November of last year.
Yeah, Q4 of last year.
Yep. And so we literally, and by the way, the earth moved and nobody realized it, but literally for the first time for any international real estate company that was franchising outside of North America was actually had the data. Folks, that's unbelievable. That it's actually unbelievable, right? So we were testing it there. We're now bringing it back to the U.S. and Canada. It'll probably take us the rest of this year.
Yeah, well, a lot of things we're going to talk about today is the agent operating system and the broker's marketing system become one.
That's right. So this whole idea of double data entry and things like that just kind of goes away, right? That at the time that deals are done, it's called a distributed database. So at the time that any data is entered one time by anybody, it doesn't have to ever be put there again. So meaning that when a real estate agent puts in listing data, where does it sit? There. If that later became part of a green sheet dollar distribution, no one has to go retype in anything. Does that make sense? Just as an example, that's just a cheap parlor trick. But that's the example of that. Now let's get really serious. So this is the dashboard. So I want you to understand that we believe there are essentially 4 major dashboards to run a real estate industry with the consumer, the agent, and the market center. The first one is when I say dashboard, now correct me if I'm wrong, but when I say dashboard, remember, this is actually the platform. So we're not building, I use the word, we're not building software, because I'm trying to draw a comparison.
I think the analogy is you don't send text messages from your phone, because you can send them now from, if you're on Apple, from your iPad or from your laptop. You send text messages through Apple. And we're the same. Your iPhone, your iPad, your laptop are just mechanisms to interface with Apple's platform. We're no different. So whether you're on, by the end of the year, whether you're on Command, on Kelly, on Connect, you're not actually doing things with these products. We're not building individual products. You're just interfacing with our platform, and everything just talks to each other.
So these are dashboards, if you will. This is where the software is, if you want to use that analogy.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So when we were talking about bolt-on technology, all we were talking about was that real estate agents are they're being sold software, if you will, right? And then they use spreadsheets underneath it in order to pull the data out and create plans that they execute, right? And what we're saying is that is by the end of this year will be a day of the past. That's over with, right? When we did a study of our own people, we found out that in our estimate that our own real estate sales partners were spending between $700 million and $1 billion a year on bolt-on technology. You got that? Yep. And the companies that are building software right now up here are all being built to sell.
Yes.
They are. They're all being built to sell to somebody else, right?
Well, and Gary, going back to your original point around the agent-enabled tech trying to discount down to 1%, our whole hypothesis is that if we can give that $1 billion back to our agents and let them spend less time on the functionary of running the technology and virtual assistants and Excel spreadsheets and managing multiple products, that their fiduciary that we can provide to our consumers will allow us to take more market share and defend our commission.
Yes, and one of the ways, yes. Well, so when we start talking about building this out and at no additional cost ever to our people, immediately all of the software, not all of them, but 99% of all software providers in our industry immediately declared Gary Keller is a jerk. And literally, and you felt it. I apologize, but it's not me doing it to you. All I'm doing is trying to drive your operating costs down. And those people that are making literally multiple billions of dollars of income would prefer not, right? It's no different than the second you give up lead generation and someone else generates it for you, who's in control of the cost you're going to pay? You're not. The second that you don't own your technology, right? Who's in control of what that cost is going to be? Who's to tell you that in the future that this won't cost twice as much as it currently costs? 3 times as much. Can you stop it on your own? Can we stop it? Yes. So one of the things that you see going on in Keller Williams that has now made me and this company one of the most spit at companies on the planet, which I'm proud of that. But it's true, is because we're messing with everyone's money, meaning that in the fight to keep you at the core of the real estate industry and your ability to be able to charge the most amount of money, fair market prices for your services, we are literally taking everybody on your behalf now. I know you say that, but a lot of people immediately, no, I promise you, every day, these providers that agents are currently running their software under are undermining Keller Williams at every moment. And you know it. They are, right? They are literally holding conferences where they invite agents to and then privately try to recruit them away from Keller Williams to another competitor because that competitor is promoting their software. Yes or no? Yes. Oh, yeah. And you don't see a problem with that? You don't see the conflict in that? Yeah, people are mad at me is because I called them out. By the way, just so you know, after I did that at Inman, I got a personal letter from CEOs from all over the country, from RE/MAX to you name it, privately thanking me. And then, by the way, immediately started announcing what they were going to do. Good for them. Good for them. Wake up. Absolutely. You bet. All right, so that's what that is. So the game starts to get interesting, and I'll need to wrap this up. The game gets real interesting when we get into Connect. So ignore the current Connect that you use. Okay, just ignore that. That's nothing compared to what we're building. So if you think about LinkedIn and Facebook and a little bit of Slack had a baby.
And they sent it to real estate school.
That's what we're building for you, okay? You got a taste of what we can build and rapidly build on this platform when we introduced our referral program, right? And the interesting you didn't know is we built that half-assed.
Built that from the ideation to launching it was about 90 days. And what we've done, so take one step back. Amazon is not Amazon because they were brilliant day one. They're Amazon because they were able to pivot. There's a really interesting use case. So when we all think of the one-click checkout, we all think of Amazon. But the truth was, Amazon and eBay were competing it out, they were battling it out, and eBay had this great idea. Let's go create the easier checkout process. Let's do a deal with PayPal and do the one-click checkout on eBay. Amazon was able to replicate that in less than 60 days, put it on their site, and that started this platform war. But PayPal owned the checkout, not eBay, and so Amazon can move faster than eBay, and the rest is history. Now Amazon is what we think of the one-click checkout. Same with Netflix. Hulu comes out with consumers like the product better, it had more content, but they don't really disrupt Netflix. It's because every time they did something amazing, Netflix would just copy them. So with that 2-year journey that we've been building, we were building a platform, and we were wanting something that no matter what anyone else did, we could copy them in 60 to 90 days. And so we started testing that in November of last year. And in a lab, we said, let's do referrals. Relatively complex. You have agents, you have people, you need maps, you need production data, you need migration maps, like all those things. So great, well, let's see if we can do this, if we can take an idea, push it out there, and launch it in 90 days, and we did. And then we've continued to iterate on top of that. Same thing with most of the Kelly skills that come out. That's why they're rough, is because we're testing how fast we can go from idea down to release, and we'll talk a little more of that in a little bit.
Yeah. So just think, so here's the fun thing. So in the first quarter of next year, Stacia and her team at KWU is building out our live streaming platform. So essentially, our plan is in the first quarter of next year, 100% of all agent training will be live streamed from Austin, Texas. Okay, and that's a cool thing. Now that's worthy of more than that, but trust me, in our world, we are so excited we can't stand it about what we're doing. But I want you to understand something. One of the biggest reasons that this is important, besides the level of education that we can bring at no cost to you, right? All you have to do is right. So imagine this. Imagine, because we know everyone's production, that all of a sudden Kelly says, hey, agents who are selling this amount, let's just call it, are selling 10 deals a year, went from 10 to 20 by taking these 3 classes. By the way, we looked at your Google Calendar, and the classes that you could sign up for that would do this are these dates, and these dates. Click yes if you would like to attend virtually those classes. And would you like a 30-minute notice on your phone before the classes start? Now, what I just demonstrated to you was a distributed data platform driven by artificial intelligence, right? And all what was happening is it was coming down here, going up there, coming back down there, and going back there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So imagine if you're running a real estate agent team and you have team members. We know all the production. We know all the people that are agents on teams and what they do production-wise. And we know what education they're taking. And all of a sudden, the artificial intelligence is now coming back and making recommendations back to your team and scheduling that. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, that's just a cheap example. That's just a cheap example of what can happen. Now let's go a little deeper. So then you call it a CRM. We call it a CRM because we tried not to, and no one knows what we're talking about. So we just call it a CRM. But again, this is the command is for us as a dashboard to literally run a real estate agent business. So again, let me give you an example of this. So at the time that he's going to go through this thoroughly, but let me just demonstrate the power. So let's imagine again that you take a listing, and because we know over here, we know all the listings that were taken, and we know what the asking price was, and we know what the sold price was. And because we know both of that, the second you take a listing, all of a sudden you get a notice that says, hey, for homes in that price range with blah, 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 blah features, actually the smart plan number 12 is the marketing plan that is getting the best results today in the market. Would you like to execute smart plan 12? Now, just making this up, but smart plan 12 happens to be a 6-week intense marketing program that immediately goes and executes down here to pick up direct mail, immediately connects to something like MailChimp or some email provider that distributes email, right? It also has I'll stop there, but it uses this flyer, it uses this direct mailer piece, it uses these things, and all you have to do is go yes, and pick your target area, and it immediately executes that. Does that make sense? Imagine you're going to fill out a contract, you have an offer that comes in, it's dumped into command, and immediately artificial intelligence looks at that and immediately comes back and says, for homes in that price range with that repair allowance, have an 82% chance of closing. By the way, for a 95% chance, or whatever, I'm making this up, you would want the repair allowance to go to X. Now imagine if you had that data and you could slide in front of the buyer or the seller and say, here's the empirical data on what's happening around that. That make sense? Okay. That's just a simple little demonstration of exactly what artificial intelligence can do when the database is distributed. The depth at which that all of this can talk to each other is unreal because it's all here. Does that make sense? And this is, and the race, by the way, can you begin to see the power? Let's go one step further. So let's go over here to the new KW.com, which we'll release in the first quarter of next year. And the only reason that some of this stuff is taking a little longer than we would like is because we're in contracts, we're in relationships, just like our other competitors, and we have to honor those, and we have to give all of our partners the equal and fair chance to work with us in this new environment. So it's just it's total respect. Okay.
And not just websites, but they're new agent mobile apps, new complete agent consumer experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's just imagine again. So when we think of the consumer, we think of it this way, and that is the virtual consumer is interested in voyeurism and search, ultimately contract to close, and ownership. So if I put that in a box, I can immediately draw lines here and say that voyeurism and search is a thing, that getting a contract written and closed on your phone is a thing, and then managing your home once you own it is a thing, right? So if you look at the real estate industry so far, and you look at it in terms of these three buckets, what's the only bucket that actually exists today? It's that one, isn't it? Right? Yeah, it's voyeurism and search. However, why did Zillow buy Dotloop? Why did they buy a mortgage company, a bank? Where are they positioning for? They're headed right to number two. They have no choice. What I mean is they are beholden to their stockholders. They have no financial choice. They have to do this. No matter what they tell you otherwise, they have no choice. They'll apologize all the way. They'll blame someone else for having to do it, and then they're going to do it. Okay? Trulia will do it. Built.com will do it. They'll all do it. Okay? They won't stop there. They'll ultimately get over to homeownership. We believe that that this is the game that has to be played, and that game has not been won yet. And we believe that by creating this experience, so let me explain again the value of the reinvented KW.com as an app. So imagine that your consumer, that you hand your consumer an app, and you say, let's pretend that you just closed the transaction. So I'll say this because I need to stop. But an example would be, at the closing, you say, okay, we've put all your data in here. We have everything now loaded up in the app. And first question is, if you can save money on refinancing, do you want to do that? And the customer says, well, duh, yes, okay. I say, great, well, I'm just going to check here, don't. And you can ignore it because we have a mortgage company. It's free. We don't charge any origination fees, closing costs, or anything. And we're pinging in real time against your payment, your interest rate, and your mortgage amount to see if you should refinance. You don't have to worry about it or think about it. You'll get an alert if it says yes. I mean, if it says, hey, you said $50 a month, click here, you click here, we're going to refinance your house. You understand that?
That's amazing.
Now, if your app doesn't do that and someone else's app does that, you got a problem. You understand that? Okay, well, I'm not going to be able to go to Wells Fargo. I'm not going to be able to go to Zillow Mortgage. I'm not going to be able to go to anybody else's mortgage company and let them be in control of the value proposition that you offer. Does that make sense? Somebody's going to make money in the mortgage business. Well, the way we're doing it, we don't make money yet. Trust me. But at the end of the day, our goal, notice there's a theme here. The theme is that we're literally going to reduce the cost of these things, everything that surrounds the real estate transaction, as close to zero as possible. Why are we doing that?
Protect the commission.
So that, yes, that's exactly right. So that you're not the one taking the zero, because everyone else. What's happening over here? Just pay attention to what's happening over here, right? And the question is, who's fighting against that? The only way to fight against it is to load up your battleship with guns aimed at everybody and say, kiss my royal rear. Well,
Woo!
yeah. Half of you clap, the other half going, now you're mucking with my business. Because you're conflicted. You're conflicted. You take marketing money, you take deals from other people. Instead of trying to save the consumer money, you're actually making money on the consumer. Now you don't like me, see? No, trust me, you don't like me. But that's okay. I get it. But I'm not trying to muck with anyone's business. I am fighting for your job. I am fighting for your business. By the way, Redfin has free mortgages in 7 states. Kiss my butt. You just didn't know it. You're not in that state, you don't know that. You don't know. If tomorrow morning Zillow said free mortgage, what would you do? You and your MSA gonna pout? So you don't like me right now, do you? But I'm telling you right now, your industry is getting real serious real fast. Real serious real fast. And there's a lot of conflicted people, and there are a lot of people that aren't going to be in this industry. I've been in this business for 40 years. I'm not going away. Okay? Now, so imagine again that you also asked the consumer, by the way, do you want to manage your home or do you want us to? So what do you mean? So I put in all my vendors, I manage my vendor account here, and you can use these vendors, and I keep them updated. I mean, I keep the best vendors in here, and you can use that service, right? But if you don't want to manage it yourself, we have a concierge service. The company charges X amount, and we dispatch those people on your behalf. All you have to do is hit this button. You hear that?
Yes.
Okay. So what I want you to understand, so imagine even further. Imagine right now you have very limited view into what the consumer is doing on your app or on your website. Yes or no?
Yes.
You have very limited view. That's right. Yeah. Imagine tomorrow morning when you are Netflix and you have 100% visibility through command into what that consumer is doing in real time on everything. You know everything that's going on. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Do you see the value of that? Okay, that's it. So when you hear real estate companies say that they're Netflix, Keller Williams' goal is for you to be Netflix. Our goal is that, right? We want our real estate offices to be thought of Apple stores. We want our real estate agents to be thought of as Netflix. That you own the platform that the consumer uses for their entire experience, from voyeurism all the way to ownership. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. That's the value of it, right? Imagine tomorrow morning you get an alert and it starts showing you in real time what your customers actually on your database is doing. Our concern is that this becomes a land grab at this point in the industry. Whoever brings this out and immediately starts putting that in the consumer's hand. Think about this. Think about what happened in the banking industry. And that is banks would advertise and say, hey, move your banking to us, get a free toaster, right? Or, come by and get a fresh drink or whatever, blah, 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 right? Then all of a sudden someone came up with a brilliant idea. How about if we do mobile banking and direct deposit? And then everybody went, wow, that really saves me time and energy. So you loaded up all of your banking stuff and all your bills and everything into your mobile banking app. So today, if I came to you and I said, hey, we started a new bank, we have a new, it's called, whatever, and we have a new banking app, and we don't charge anything for it. We'll give you a toaster. Switch your entire mobile banking over to us. What would you say?
Already got that.
Yes or no? Yeah. If I came to you, and here's the weird one, right? If I came to you and said, free phone for life. I'm going to give you a free phone. Free. Just switch to my phone. What would you say? I only change my phone out every 3-4 years or whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's not that much money. And my whole life is here. I've built everything into it. It does everything for me. I can't get off of the platform. Yes or no? So what happens when someone shows up in your industry with an end-to-end platform, goes to the consumer and says, everything you ever needed to do on real estate is in this platform. Just use it. And then you show up behind them and you use your standard pitch. Yeah, go use their stuff, but when you want to use me, come back to me. How's that going to play out in the future? That doesn't scare you to death?
Yes.
Okay, it scares me to death. It scares me, right? I sleep less, I work more, because I realize that is the race of this industry, okay? Now, by the way, who's playing that race on your behalf? Is Zillow? Redfin? How about your software vendor? Okay. Do you see my point? Yeah, this is why we're in business together. We are partners, 100% partners. And this is why we're in business together. And, you know what? Huh?
And we'll be releasing ours in Q1.
Yes, when we said that we believed that within a year the game would change, we knew what we were going to do. We knew how fast we would be doing all of that. And that's why we said it's going to look very different, because for we'll show you all this today. Our game plan is by the first quarter of next year to literally have provided all of this to you in version 1 in a very powerful way. You don't have to use it. If you don't feel the pressure, if you think that you have a better deal, we love you. That's awesome. Okay? Just know we're here. We're fighting on your behalf. Should you need it, it's available to you. Does that make sense? Now, my prediction is you're going to use it. But I just want to say that. Now, by the way, so the last thing, and that is, we literally went out and we said, okay, then we're gonna have to go take a shot at everyone around the real estate transaction. The software being and the data being absolute. But it also, just look at the insurance industry, right? The thing about the insurance industry is that the number is like 60% of all homeowners are underinsured. Think about that number, by the way. Think about, in fact, I actually wrote the stats down. 1 out of 3 people haven't updated their policy in 10 plus years. I mean, how often does your insurance agent call you to update your policy? Yes, that's exactly right. So imagine our ability that at the time that we sell a home, for the major underwriters immediately giving the best possible quotes they can for your consumer to make a decision on. And imagine over time, because we can apply on a per state basis, possibly for a different rate, a preferred rate, because of the type of buyers that we sell homes to, that all of a sudden you're able to actually offer from the major underwriters of the world the best possible insurance rates. Yes? By the way, why do this? Just remember, the insurance industry would love to discount you. Right? The Century 21 used to be owned by an insurance company, Metropolitan Life. You ever heard of the company called Prudential? Understand that the insurance industry has been a major player in your industry, and they always did it because they wanted access to your database. The problem is that the data, the connectivity wasn't there. Today, the connectivity is there now. Our goal, just like with this, is to reduce the cost so low and to get to the underwriters first, so they never want to come back to your industry again. Does that make sense? And our insurance team, what are they telling us? Courtney, what are they saying? They're excited, right? Yeah, they're very excited. What you didn't know was that the major underwriters have been working on this now to connect back for you to do that. The same is going on in the mortgage business, right? So we had to buy a mortgage company. We had to completely reinvent it, right? And we ultimately realized that this is very serious. That this is one of the major places that is a gap that our competitor can infiltrate. So we're in the mortgage business, and actually we have a video, because we've been in the mortgage business now for, I guess, close to 4 years. And we were experimenting, and people hate us, and we totally understand why. Consumers don't, just so you know. Yeah, so run the video real quick. Smokey, come on out. We're going to talk about this just for a second.